It's 2 p.m. Central African Time. Good afternoon and thank you for choosing Market View with me, Sifiso Ngumalo. Stay with me over the next half an hour as we track developments around the nation's economy and how it feeds into the overall sustainable economic growth of the country. Now, coming up on the show, I'm in conversation with our in-house business journalist, Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla. We want to look at the investment to sugarcane small medium enterprises. We hear that 26 million Malangeni has been disbursed to sugarcane SMEs by FinCorp since the year 2022. And that is according to FinCorp Managing Director Dumisani Msibi. We will wrap things up with an analysis of the financial markets of the day, that with our economist Sanele Sibia. But for now, let's start the show with today's business news. The Africa Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply says it is important for different procuring entities to keep constant contact with their suppliers if they are to improve the way they buy goods. This has been said by the head of business, Craig Ofaleri, during the skills training workshop of the Eswatini Public Procurement Regulatory Agency at Hilton Garden Inn in Mbabane.
That is a key area that post-contract professionals and practitioners can focus on. In doing so, they're able to achieve better outcomes, and ultimately that is good for not only the procurement and supply chain organizations, but also the country as a whole. So that will help from an organization perspective to deliver better value, to be more effective, more efficient, with the resources that the organizations and that the individuals have at their disposal to achieve ultimately better outcomes for the country and the people.
The Senior Capacity Building and Advisory Officer at the Eswatini Public Procurement Regulatory Agency, Nomile Simelane, explains why they conducted the workshop.
When conducting audits or WCA, which is workload and capacity assessments, we discovered, and also during training, we discovered that most procuring entities do not keep their records well, such that it is perceived as if they are corrupt or they want to practice corrupt practices.
Cindy Mtande, a senior procurement officer from the Zincephetelo Motor Vehicle Accident Fund, appreciates the training.
It is capacitating us to be able to handle public funds because the regulation of the public procurement space is something that is still new in the country. So we find ourselves having to rely on the regulator for guidance.
The training will also focus on forecasting techniques, controlling costs, as well as continuous budget monitoring, amongst other topics. For Market View, Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
The Commissioner of Cooperatives, Russell Ngumalo, says they will be working tirelessly to ensure cooperative regulatory legislations are being followed by all cooperatives in an effort to safeguard Eswatini's finances. The Commissioner said this when explaining the different issues he intends to address as he takes office.
It's been sort of a tall order getting into the office. It's been vacant for quite some time, and obviously without someone substantive, there are quite a number of issues on the table that we need to address. Mainly compliance. We found that a lot of co-ops do not want to comply with the statutes. So we're really working hard on getting them to get back to towing the line, if I may put it. We also have another issue. Currently we want to have a policy. We used to have a policy. Unfortunately, it has sort of expired, so we will be working on getting a policy to sort of regulate co-ops. Mainly, it's been centering around board members not wanting to vacate office upon expiry of their term. We've also had quite a few co-ops where you'll find that there was mismanagement of funds, sometimes even bordering on embezzlement, where they sort of deviate from the constitution of that co-op. So we've sort of tried to work on bringing them back into line, because as we know, even their policies our act supersedes their policies. So if they're not following our act, then it's sort of, I would say, it shortchanges members of that co-op. There's also the Financial Services Regulatory Act, which they also have to comply with. So working hand in hand with FSRA, we are trying to bring them to order. We are looking at getting those co-ops that are unaffiliated to be affiliated to an apex body. It's sort of difficult because most of the time there are always clandestine moves, I would say, from board members not to get affiliated. Who's going to hold them responsible if they're not affiliated? So it's a sort of a way of, I would say, avoiding being scrutinized.
And that's it for our news. We'll go for a net break. We return with Nelsiwe and Dlagamandla to talk about the investment that FinCorp has made to SMEs since 2022.
sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu sivile sive sitikhulume
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. FinCorp has disbursed 26 million emalangeni to small and medium enterprises in the sugarcane industry since the year 2022. The managing director, Dumisane Msibi, says their intention is to play their role in helping the country attain clean energy whilst ensuring businesses are able to make meaningful profits.
Have now invested just above 25 million emalangeni into projects that have installed solar. I know that as of the end of the financial year, which is the annual report that is being discussed these days, it was as low as 6 million. But within that 11 months from there on to now, there's been an added investment that is in excess of 20 million in this project. And why is that the case? I go back, it's the extent to which the investments depend on electricity. We will all accept that if we do not do anything about it, the investments are at risk. And we don't want to see that. But also, we will agree that the component of energy in these projects compared to the costs that then come with it, does speak to the viability and sustainability of these projects. And therefore, we took the view that we would start with the sugarcane farmers. For a simple reason, they have the cash flows, but they also use a significant amount of electricity. So to that extent, they have been able to cut down on electricity costs. And when they do so, they increase the profitability of this project, which is what we want to see. So the northern part of the country, we have financed a couple of projects that I have invested in solar, and also down east, Spofaneni. There's also a number of projects there.
That is the managing director of FinCorp, one of the state-owned enterprises doing a very great job in investing in SMEs really. And yeah, such a good job they're doing, Nelly. I think, we've had a conversation before on some of the other investments that they've made outside of, this particular investment that I want us to look into today. But the crux of this story, the biggest thing is local generation of electricity, and he's alluding to it, that they made this investment particularly because they want sugarcane farmers, small medium enterprises, that is, to be able to to be viable and make good profits. But sime the local generation of our own electricity.
Thank you so much, Sifiso Ngivusele nembukele ekhaya. So ilive leSwatini, Sifiso, line master plan, the energy master plan 2034, lapho khona libuka kwekuthi kufanele ukuthi sitikhicitele gesi phindze sisebenzise eco-friendly technologies. Njengoba ngikhuluma nje kune South African Power Pool meeting that is ongoing ngala ekubo Happy Valley, where as a country we have met different countries. Sibuka yona indzaba yakhe gesi ukuthi singakhicitela kanjani. Kune small scale embedded generators lapho khona EEC, so ubita abosomabhizinisi labancane mhlambe na utikhicitela gesi nje long 1 megawatt, so ungakhona ukuthi the excess usale ummikisa khona ka EEC, umthengisela EEC angene to the national grid. There is an ongoing conversation with independent power producers kwekuthi engabe singakhona kanjani vele silive ukuthi sitikhicitele gesi lowanele phindze futhi gesi lo clean energy.
Yeah, and indeed our partnership with South Africa, Nzaba Yaga Eskom, has been such a lingering conversation at Tsenini. We really need to be smart going forward, looking at, our agreement coming into an end. And it's quite, I would say, motivating, and it's beautiful to see such projects being made, particularly for an investment to go soma business. If we look at just solar energy, it is clean energy at the end of the day. But one asks themselves, if you look at the sugarcane industry, Nelsie, I know you're on the ground quite a lot to business. How viable is it the business yakona sugarcane, and is it a good investment?
It is a good investment. Now uyibuka Sifiso, kepha-ke kukhona challenges lakhona ngendlela yekuthi ukhanza ukuthi ngalesinye isikhathi nabathenga nje le solar njengoba ingekho la even leSwatini, ukhanza ukuthi nabayithenga iyephuta kufika, ukhanza ukuthi le investment seyalimala kanjalo ngekuthi kumele ngabe sowuqalile uyaproducer, so yamnika mhlambe FinCorp loko lokuncane kulakuboleke kona, kepha ukhanze ukuthi wena usamele ukuthi le solar ifike la even leSwatini. So those are some of the challenges lakhona, but the MD uyawachaza naye ngebunyendi bawo ukuthi ngabe yini lenda ukuthi ku-investor in this sector kube madima.
Yeah, sesethembe ukuthi umsebenzi ke lota uqhubeka uhambe ube muhle lo yawa agreements are coming into an end by 2025. 2025 is like next week. But let's listen to the managing director of FinCorp, Mr. Dumisani Msibi, uqhubekile wachaza ngetinsaye labahlangabetana nabo nato kule ntuthuko lena.
These investments should be able to feed back into the national grid. So we haven't reached that stage. So there's still some work to be done. And you would ask, why are these projects unable to feed back to the national grid? The costs that are associated with storage so that you are able to then feed the national grid are quite substantial. Unfortunately, the rates insofar as the purchasing power agreements do not sustain that investment. So as a country, we still have some work to do. We have to probably take a bold decision and appreciate that we have to develop this industry. And if we have to do so, we then have to take a deliberate act to invest. The regulator, that's on the regulator's lap in terms of what do we do with the rates which are not encouraging people who are generating electricity to be able to invest in the technology that is required so that they are able to feed back to the national grid. But I suppose we will overcome that as stakeholders as we work together. The other second challenge that we have seen, it's an emerging phenomenon in the country, and therefore service providers are limited. You and me will know that when service providers are limited, and therefore the prices are likely to be high because we are all scrambling for just few service providers and suppliers. Yes, the numbers are increasing, but we have not reached a level whereby it gives options to those that are interested in investing. And maybe the one last challenge that I would point out to, the fact that we are sourcing the solar panels offshore. And therefore, turnaround times for these projects will from time to time be affected by the fact that the technology is not coming from within the region. So one is hopeful that maybe the big players, the manufacturers, will at some point look at making investments within the region so that we are able to get at cost-effective prices, of course, or costs, so that we continue to sustain this project.
Government's efforts to develop 126.5 megawatts of power plants through independent power producers and through our local power utility are on track. And that was according to His Majesty the King during the speech from the throne, Nelly, which is, quite interesting because the managing director is also speaking to that sentiment. But I suppose the biggest thing langathi seyiba kwesaba ukuthi we may need to invest kuma technologies ekuthenini lama independent power producers anga outsource outside of the SADC region la khanza ukuthi sekuyabadulela khona, so it becomes difficult for them to fit into the national grid. How important is it for Eswatini to be able to have our own technologies produced here instead of importing from Mave Khamba? How will that be important to the independent power producers and to the overall economic situation of our country?
Ngicabanga ukuthi kumqoka kakhulu Sifiso, because that would mean easier access to yena nje gesi nangabe lama technologies lawa asheshe atholakala. But before I came on air, I talked to EEC to just ask them ukuthi there's this issue of independent power producers. There are people nyalo bebaye South Africa where they were talking clean energy, Africa energy indaba. They are willing to work. What is it that you are doing? That is when they said there is a meeting that is going on. Kunale issue yabosoma business labancane lokufanele ukuthi nabo naseba produceile bakhone kumnika EEC. So they are working around ensuring ukuthi more and more people are able to feed the national grid. Indzaba yekuthi lama technologies abe khona nakhona bayabuka lokuthi engabe kutawendiwa njani ukuthi kungathi umuntu nakafuna isola ithathe mhlambe bo 5 months ukhanze ukuthi sekuyadelayeka kusebenta ngaleyo ndlela.
It's quite interesting, and I would have loved to ask, what the business community themselves are saying, because I know that you do not only just speak to the managing directors and the leaders of these SOEs, but you also look into what are the people saying on the ground. But we'll develop that conversation. But just want to highlight that His Majesty also said that 80 megawatts biomass power generation capacity has been confirmed, and its procurement will commence soon, which is very exciting for Eswatini. And government should also pursue the thermal power project. Given the abundance of coal deposits in the country, this needs to be done while taking into consideration minimizing the impact of emissions, which is, the reason why we're having these conversations, decreasing my emissions. Let's go for a net break. We return with the financial analysis with Sanele Sibia.
sabatandi ukuthi njengaloku sifile sive sitikhulume
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
It's 21 minutes after 2. Welcome back to the program. We connect virtually with our in-house economist, Mr. Sanele Sibia, just to look at the financial outlook of the day. Mr. Sibia, welcome to the program. Engabe timakethe tetfu lamuhla timephi ungathanda ukuthi siqale kuphi namhla?
Hello, Swiss, how are you?
Mr. Sibia, I just wanted to ask if we look at the developments around the financial markets of the day, where would you want us to start today, particularly looking at how it impacts Live Lakangwane? We can start by looking at the currency pair analysis. The United States dollar compared to Langen letfu, Mr. Sibia. Ngabe let nombolo tisitshela kuthini namuhla?
Tinombolo namhla Swiss tisitshela ukuthi Langen ligayinile compared to major currencies. Masibuka nje namhla li-trade at 1850 compared to the dollar, which is really a level lesingakake sayibona isikhathi lesethi sithi lesisuka kiso. So lokho kusho ukuthi ligena emandla Langen lethu. So lokho singakho attribute to naku kubuka ukuthi namhla iAmerica
European markets are higher, particularly ahead of the latest U.S. inflation report. How has that impacted the euro compared to the Langen? All right, it seems like we are experiencing a bit of a technical issue there connecting to Mr. Sibia. I will go for a net break, hoping that by the time we return, everything will be sorted.
sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu sifile sive sitikhulume.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7#, or you can use Eswatini Imali. You can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163. or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Yeah, a bit of a challenge there connecting with our economist, Mr. Sanele Sibia. We do extend our profound apologies in that front, but we will continue to look at, some of the overviews of the financial markets. We'll first look at the situation happening around gold. The European markets obviously higher ahead of the latest United States inflation report. The European market has said that the index shook off some of the Monday's negativity to trade off 0.4% higher through the morning, and then sectors were mainly in the green, with financial services and travel stocks up by more than 1%. Now this the February reading of the consumer price index affected that, which is set to be released on Tuesday 8:30 a.m. European time. It is being closely watched to see how it could inform the Federal Reserve's interest rate trajectory, but economists expect that prices across a broad spectrum of goods and services will rise by 0.4% on the month of March, which we are in, just ahead of the January pace of 0.3%, and that's according to the Dow Jones consensus. But if we continue and look at the oil rises, which has slightly risen ahead of the demand estimates, the Brent crude oil early in the Asian trading spaces, but prices have been seen to be moving, rather low, and they were limited as the market waited for monthly reports from oil agencies. Crude oil traded in a tight range as traders await some of the demand estimates from the monthly reports by the key oil agencies. And then while we may believe that the estimates will be largely unchanged, any upside surprise will ease demand concerns, and that is being referred to by the petroleum exporting countries and the International Energy Agency. And, another thing that we may want to look at is the gold firms, which are looking on the boosted rate cut bets as traders brace for inflation data. Gold edged up on Monday, trading near its highest ever level after a record rally last week. United States traders speak to the U.S. inflation data that could provide more clarity on the Federal Reserve's interest rate trajectory. That is some of the developments happening in the financial markets, and it's quite interesting. Nelly, maybe says Pumaguma financial markets. It's quite unfortunate that we couldn't connect with. Climate change doing global emissions lakhona from industrialization. Ngabe nawubuka nje some of the big businesses lakhona lapha kaNgwane ka industrialization, we've heard ukuthi ku COP28 level kaNgwane la declaration ukuthi we only contribute kancane kule tinfo leti. Engabe nawubuka nje just studying the business environment, are we really producing so much emissions?
No, not really. We are not. Business Eswatini has said thine la kaNgwane asiproduce so much emissions. I-target yethu kuma national determined contributions, I think it was to reduce by 5% nangikumbula kahle, but we don't produce much. The CEO of Business Eswatini lengikhulume naye uthi yes, we are trying as amabhizinisi ngalana kugesi kwekuthi send these eco-friendly technologies. We are trying to live up to the standards emhlaba kahle kahle kwekuthi nathi silive sibonakale ukuthi siyasebenta vele ekutheni sende gesi lohlobile. So even though there is not much that we are producing, but nathi silive vele kukhona lokho lokuncane lesikuproducer which the business community is saying sisebenzela ukuthi nathi sigcine sithi producela gesi lohlobile ngoba currently we are importing 80% wa gesi from South Africa and Mozambique. So that is a lot. We have Ilovo, we have Buxwood, we have Ires that laba producer gesi to contribute to the national grid. So yes, we still have a long way to go.
But we're excited with Sisugile Misebenzise vele ixesha. Ngalomusho, we have come to the end of our program, but maybe to add to that, Nelly, Phil nisibonile last week ukuthi wethabile kakhulu the agreement that we have signed with the Taiwan Stock Exchange. Carbon solutions are underway. We'll see you again tomorrow on Business Watch. Have a good day.